I'm sure.
I hate budget season too, though, so I'm not a fan of August, not a fan of December.
For the birds.
Exactly.
All right, calling our December meeting to order here. Nancy ran out. Other than that, all our park board members are present. Nancy will return here in a hot minute. I'm going to go ahead and let Joanne kind of work through some of the questions that we've kind of been having in terms of budget stuff. I know that Joanne's kind of shared a lot of that material with Jerry, but I don't know if there's some highlights that you kind of wanted to touch upon, or Jerry, if you wanted to maybe bring up in regards to play equipment, bridges, and how that's going to look for the 2026 season for us.
Will do.
So it sounds like we're good with that project in terms of money for the two play equipments. That's correct.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
There's, so to give you an idea here, we need as a group to ask Joanne to encumber all of our 2025 funds. Now, when you encumber it, it has to be encumbered to a particular vendor. So you can't just say save it. You have to say save it for. So right now we have roughly 36,000, a little more, a little less, 36,000. And the most expensive version of these two playgrounds would be in the area of 58,000. Okay. There are some ways we could make some cuts, but just keep that in mind. So we're under. So then Joanne suggested to me that I talk to Eric, because there are several line items that have to do with the park, but over which we have no control. And then there's a few line items that have to do with the park, over which we do have control. We're asking that those line items be encumbered. Okay. But I talked to Eric, and he was open to the idea, since there's several line items that were not spent out, they still have money in them, that he'd be willing to talk about moving some of that money into our capital projects, which would mean we could get some additional monies. We need to do all that discussion before December 8th, and we probably have to have another meeting before December 8th, because the council then gets asked to encumber at December 8th meeting.
Okay, can I just interject real quick? You actually are gonna have a little bit more time.
Okay.
We've had to schedule an additional council meeting for December 22nd.
Okay.
So that will give you a little bit more time to work through the details. And we will do the additional appropriations, because I wasn't sure if we need to do any, but we do. And they have to be advertised. Tomorrow is a deadline at noon for getting them advertised. They've got to be advertised 10 days before the meeting. The earliest they can get advertised is the 11th. So the earliest we can have the second meeting in December is 22nd.
Now, let's make a distinction here. The encumbrance could still be acted on the 8th?
No, it'll be acted on the 22nd. So you've
Okay,
got
that's
a
why we
little-
do have some time. No, we
Yeah, you've got a
actually
little
have.
bit more time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's that potentially really good news, because we've had very good support from the city. Eric and the mayor both have been very supportive of us doing things with the park. And Joanne has spent several times with me working through how that could be done legally. Okay, so then Joanne also came up with the idea that potentially, but not certainly, we might be able.
It sounded like it.
I heard that door, but I couldn't tell.
Might be able to, we have essentially, you could call it, I guess you could call it a savings account. It's a cash. And over the years, money that the park board didn't spend went into that cash account. So it's there, but it's not appropriate. We couldn't spend it. But Joanne said, I wonder if we could make an argument to prorate a portion of that, like, since the park board's budget is usually about this % of the budget, and then Eric's budget is this % of the budget, I wonder if we could go and take your percent and go into that cash and pull that out for next year as a new appropriation for working on upgrading the parks so they're all safe. So there, besides our normal budget, which may or may not be approved by the state, they have to decide if they're going to let us have our
So the
normal
state
budget.
decides that.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
We
So-
submit it, but the state makes the final decision on whether or not it's approved.
Gotcha.
And would that also be true if you were trying to pull something out from that
It
cash
still sounds
balance?
like someone's trying to get in. Oh,
I can
that was
check.
that door.
Um,
That's so weird. It
I
like
keep
echoes.
hearing this door out here because the hall door's open when that outside door opens and closes. It's probably echoing
That's,
down the
yeah,
hall.
okay, that's what I'm hearing. I'm like, I swear it came from
Yeah.
that direction.
Because a second ago, I saw someone go into the restroom, so that outside door had opened and closed.
Gotcha.
So-
Okay, ask me that question.
Yeah, do you have to do does the state have to review that special appropriation anytime there's a
Yeah,
special?
it's just an additional appropriation, just like I'm trying to do now. But yes, they have to approve that. And there's not any reason why they wouldn't approve it unless the funds just weren't there to support it.
Okay,
Um,
and at this point,
The
there's a
funds
pretty,
are, yeah,
pretty decent amount of funds.
Yeah.
Okay, so first step is to encumber all of our budget from 2025 and direct it to the folks that are going to be helping with the play sets. That's the first thing. Second thing is to get a new appropriation of this new money, but that probably wouldn't happen until next year. The other thing is, just keep in mind that if Eric is willing to transfer some of that money, the encumbrance is going to be larger than what we have right now, where we're figuring the encumbrance right now is about 36,000. If he transfers in some money, it may be more than that. It would be more than that if he transfers in some money. So that's why we want to get that all done, so that the council can say, yes, we agree, we're going to encumber that money. All right, is that reasonably clear? Okay, so again, this is because of a lot of discussion on the part of several different parts of the city, and I want to really thank you for all of that, really, Joanne and the mayor. The mayor and Eric found a way to cut down the tree and other limbs that were over at Circle Park that would have cost us easily $3,000 to do. And they did that for us. Okay, so that's where that lays. Now, as far as what these different things are going to cost, that's what I sent you to as an email. It's pretty set that the Circle Park is going to cost roughly $40,000. We've already spent about $1,500 on the basketball court and the bridge, because the bridge will be replaced. Okay,
For the equipment.
for the
Yeah.
equipment, yeah.
Okay.
So we're looking at about 40,000, 41,000 for Circle Park. There's some volunteer work that has to be put in there. There's some used stuff that has to be put in there, but all said and done, it should look nice. And I'm hoping to get a volunteer corps from that whole neighborhood to help paint.
You said 41,000 for a circle.
Circle Park, okay. Now, for the little park, for what I'm starting to call the toddler park on Ravine, because it's only for little kids, that one has a range from 7,600 to 17,500. And the range has to do with how much different folks are willing to do and also a design. So if you guys haven't seen the design preference, I want to at least point that out so you can kind of be aware. The thought was, I don't know, you can stand up and sort of look. The thought was that we might make a great big playground out of that, that, in other words, mulch would look like this L. There's where the play set goes, and these are existing pieces of equipment. The thing over here is a swing set, and that would be a separate. But this would be one big island. That's the most expensive. That'd be the 17,000. Alternatively, and this has not been quoted, but I took prices and I did some measurements and tried to sort of think what might it cost. Alternatively is that we would put boxes around the slide and a circle around the dome and dirt and mulch around the playground. This would all be stuff that we would dig out ourselves and put in the
Mulch.
plastic stuff, the borders.
Okay.
And
Oh,
and the
those black
city
ones.
said they would help dig it out. Okay, that'd be the cheapest. That'd be about like $7,000, $8,000 to do that.
And that's with volunteer work.
That's with volunteer and city work. And this is what they would dig out. They, the contractor, would dig out and put plastic side in and then mulch. So later on, we'd have to bring in mulch and so on. So this is not entirely done, but pretty close. That 8,000 is pretty close to bringing in the mulch if the prices don't go up so much on them. I think. I'll take that to be sure, so I didn't lie to you. But one of the things I want you to know about is that every year, the city brings in a few truckloads of the powder or the mulch so that they can make it safety. What I figured out is if we tried to do that ourselves, it was going to be in excess of somewhere between 50 and 80 truckloads, which the city is definitely not interested in doing.
That's a lot, sorry.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to want the contractor to do that.
Okay.
And if between then and now, we're in some kind of agreement about we want exactly this, then I can have her do an exact quote, because I've had her give me about 4 quotes. I think when I call her, she doesn't want to answer anymore. So, and I understand that. She's been very responsive, great gal, but, I just keep on changing goalposts all the time. So I think it's important that at this meeting, we're pretty darn clear about what we want, with some possibilities if we get more money than we thought. That, okay, let's go ahead. And what I'm going to recommend is, first of all, I want to get your opinion as to whether you prefer something that's going to look like this, or whether you prefer something that's going to look like this.
I like the whole,
Mhm.
you know, that's what I like.
Yeah.
That can
The
we
whole
afford
definitely
that?
looks a lot better,
It's, yeah.
1,000%.
If
but we're
better.
talking
Yeah.
somewhere in the neighborhood 8,000 to 10,000 more to do it. So, but it would certainly look nice.
Yes.
And so I think we have to think about that and see which way we want to go. In your handout, when you look at that, you'll see 4 quotes. This one is the very cheapest, with us making the squares and doing almost everything ourselves, except for digging out the play set. But everything else is us. Except I think this one, I included that they're bringing in mulch. Okay, so look at it, because you'll see my numbers, all right? And then we have to decide which way we want to go. Do we want to go with the really nice looking and therefore most expensive, or not? If we do, we're looking at about $57,500. Now, I did ask her to put liners in, because I saw that in our playground equipment, they all had liners, like you do for flower beds and stuff like that. And then I looked, as I was researching, I said, yeah, you really, really want to do that. And those haven't been quoted. So I don't know how much more that's going to put on this. So let's say between the two, that was 57. Let's say we put another, 5,000, 62. Then that means we've got 31. We have to come up with as much again. So if we've got that kind of money coming out of Eric's, then we'd be good. If not, it would pretty well do in our budget for the next year.
Like 2026.
Yeah. So that's where it gets a little hinky, and we couldn't get good figures until they finished what Joanne was finishing today for Board of Works. But now they should be pretty good figures. And Eric and I said we'd sit down and talk about it. And now that we don't have to run for the 8th, but for the 22nd,
Yes.
now we can do some real thinking and give you real firm figures after I send off to her what I want, then everything should be, instead of my estimates, pretty solid.
So I guess the other thing then, since we have Joanne here, I overheard that bridge donation fund.
Yes,
You want to maybe,
I had given you some wrong information.
Oh, okay.
Well, I gave it to you as I understood it,
Yes,
but I
right.
was talking with the financial advisory firm that we use to update our capital plan. I was talking to him yesterday when we were going through the 5-year outlook and blah, 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 blah. And I said, hey, I just want to clarify something. And I asked him about donation funds, and we were looking at it for another reason anyway. And donation funds do not need to be appropriated. So you can spend that
Okay.
anytime without it being appropriated. And I had told you that it needed to be, but it does not.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
And then grants, if it's a reimbursement grant, it does not need to be appropriated, meaning that we pay and then we get reimbursed for our expenses. Those grants do not need to be appropriated, but any other type of grant where we get the money up front, like our community crossing grants, we get the money up front and then we spend it and then we have to refund anything that's unspent. Those have to be appropriated. But donation funds do not, and I had, mistakenly told you that they did.
No worries.
most community foundation grants are which type? They're usually giving you a check to start, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
because that's usually just a check. But if we spent the money knowing that those funds are going to come in to reimburse us, then we wouldn't need to.
So I talked to Dale White to find out more about the grant process nowadays, because they've changed some of the ways they go about it. And Dale said that there's a Attica Park Fund, like you said, that was something they did early on in the Community Foundation's history. It stayed in the control of the board of directors of the Community Foundation. So the park board has no power over that. It's up to them. And in fact, if they wanted to and say, well, look, we want to buy about 6 trees and put it in the middle of the park, they could, except that we would say no, but they could. All right, so I said, well, how's this go then? He says, well, when you guys submit a request, we could grant that partly from that fund, entirely from that fund, or from other funds as well. So you're not guaranteed that fund ever. But you are, it is a source that would be something we would look at to fund your grant request. Well, now there's 3 tiers of grant requests. Some of them get processed pretty quickly, and some of them take a long time to process, like 6 months before they have a formal presentation where the stakeholders have to present it to the board and be available for a Q&A. And this is one that I think goes more than 7,500. There's some quicker ones. And I asked, well, can we apply for both? And he said, no. So I think that what we would probably do if we were going to go this route is maybe we shoot for the biggest. And then if that gets denied mid-year, then we go for a quick one that gets appraised in 2 months. So I think you couldn't really fault us if they denied one.
But I think the thing to think about especially with the new knowledge of the bridge donation is that if we do spend all of the 2026 budget, like we could still potentially get a bridge done as well. And that's not, our only thing getting done on this playground equipment. So it'd be a couple projects, and that's kind of what we've been doing, is usually a project or 2 per year. So I like that idea that we could do potentially one more bridge as well as playground equipment using those funds.
Well, and I wonder, so we have at this point $10,000 in the bridge fund?
Yeah, I think it was like
A little
$10,279.
over
Yeah,
10,
yeah.
Somewhere, because there's been interest.
So that should be enough for 2 bridges,
Yeah, Bubba has us quoted at 6,500 each.
65 each.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we'd just be short a little. We could get 2 bridges done
If we poured
bit.
along.
Mhm.
Now, any chance, Joanne, that the money that we took out of our regular budget, out of our capital funds, could be refunded and then taken out of that grant money, out of that donation?
Okay, restate that.
Well,
I mean, money that you spent on the other bridge.
Yes, the money we spent on the other bridge came out of capital funds, I suppose.
Right,
Any chance that that can be refunded to capital funds and then
I
you
gotcha.
take the money out of the donation money?
probably. Yeah, probably so. Because we haven't closed the year out yet.
Okay.
And what was that? It was 66 something, wasn't it?
It was
I know we
that
paid
was
it
the
to-
biggest bridge, and it was 6,800.
Okay, I couldn't remember exactly. I
No,
know
we
it was
wouldn't
paid-
necessarily want to do that. I just wanted to know if you could, because
It would have to be done before the 22nd. It'd have to be done before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think I need council approval for that. If we would just,
okay. And so again, it's almost robbing Peter to pay Paul, so I don't know that there's any reason
Right.
to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
but just to know if
It's
we
the
could.
bridge that we paid for, it got taken out of capital funds and not the bridge donation.
Mhm.
So we
Right.
still have the over 10,000 bridge donation. So I think what Jerry's saying is if we put that money back into capital funds and then use the bridge donation towards the 6,800 that we spent, and then we could start another bridge and then have more money left
More
over
money for the
for the
playgrounds.
playground.
Yeah.
And then still
Oh,
do, yeah,
Yeah.
and then maybe still do one bridge instead of two.
gotcha.
Mhm.
So then again, it just becomes sort of decision-making on that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Another thing that occurred to me, what I'm really wishing we could do is take advantage that several people are really looking at playground improvement right now. Because you're getting the brand new one that we have down at the river now, and you're getting the one that the baseball park is getting, and then you're getting the two that we're putting in. And if we started to wrap that into a bigger kind of grant that we would present to, with affiliates, like the pickleball folks and this sort of thing, we're saying what we're trying to do is upgrade facilities, so we're wanting money for the building there by the pool. And we're looking for money maybe to upgrade and put a pavilion next to the new playground equipment so that people have shade. And we're looking for, again, at the pavilion, maybe that we're looking for ways to landscape so it looks nice, the pavilion and because that's going to be kind of I think a very appealing kind of thing for people going down to the riverside.
Oh, I think so.
And, or we could be asking for the what's that called, where we're going to have people sing and dance and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
Amphitheater. We could be including, in other words, we could
Twilight
be
music?
taking the
Amphitheater.
plans that have already been put together by the city for how that was going to be used. And then John's talking about, well, we need to dredge and bring everything up. Well, fine, John, do some hard work on that and tell me more. And then, so now you've got maybe 3 or 4 or 5 major cities, organizations that are all saying, this is what we want to do. And Dale said, that's the kind of thing that attracts bigger grants. Instead of one entity doing one project, you have multiple entities with a community vision.
okay.
So I'd like us all to maybe at least consider that would be part of where we're going with that big grant. And it would be a coordination between several different entities right now and saying, here's what our 5-year plan said people were interested in. Services and playgrounds were the two of the very highest. And here's YMCA saying they're willing to come in and do services. So how do we fund that 25,000 that they want to be able to decide if it's going to go? And who, could we have more than one person trying to commit to that, more than one organization trying to commit to that? And I know right now Mary's trying to write a grant for that. So rather than having people, kind of shooting in different directions, another one that was brought up was the one where conceivably we could do some additional cleanup in Armswood and maybe pull in enough money for another bridge, because that one that John came to us was a 15,000, wasn't it? For nature preserves. And you've just arranged to have it all categorized. Very few outfits would have that. So when we start thinking about how all of this could be combined and make this the year it happens, because there are already things in motion, Nobody's got to be convinced they're already doing it. So now how do we piggyback on it? And that may be a way we could patch it up into something much larger.
So yeah, I think at a minimum, at least the planning of that, right? Because then we'd have to, we'll probably struggle with the budget for those projects coming to fruition in 26. But if you have everything in order, you're applying for the grants, and then in 2027, then you make the budget appropriately for those projects. And then
Yeah,
you're rocking
'cause
and rolling.
He said they are fine with up to 3 years. If your project is up to 3 years, 1, 2, or 3 years. Then what you have to do is design phases. So our first phase might be these playgrounds. The second phase might be, really doing something with building up the river, including maybe a trail on the canal. And so there's just, if you start to think, how could we make things really come together as a 2 or 3 year bump up? So this will take a lot of coordination with other organizations, but I think a lot of people have some version of that vision already. But they're more localized. They say, well, we're looking at this part. Now, if we can get everybody to think, well, let's look at this part as part of this part.
Cool. Any more questions for Joanne? So that way she can take off. All right. Thanks for joining.
Cool, you're very welcome. And I'm, anything I can do, anything I can do.
I do have one question. Joanne, when do you think it would be reasonable to be able to come back for that printout of the different park balances?
I will have I can have it available tomorrow as it is right now, but there's still another Board of Works meeting on the 16th. So there will be more expenses paid out of that. So we really won't have the absolute final balances until the 16th, 17th.
Well, I wonder if we take what we've got right now and then say plus or minus, kind of say, okay.
Well, and we can look at where we're at right now. We can look at where supper's ready. We can look at where we're at right now, and it would be better to ask for approval of more versus less. I mean, I'd hate to ask for 10,000 and there'd be 11,000 there.
Mhm.
So I think we could ask for what appears to be available, now, but then if that is a little bit less after the next Board of Works, then we're still covered.
We'll just encumber less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Does that sound,
would it be all right if I came by on Friday, if I called Eric and say, look, Eric, can we meet? And would that be rushing you if I came by on Friday?
Well, let me check my calendar. I think Friday's good. Yeah, Friday's good. I
Okay.
don't have anything else.
Would you like to be in on that? 'Cause
Oh, I don't need to be, but if you want me to be,
Okay, well,
I'm available.
Eric thought that he'd like you there just
Oh,
in case,
okay.
rather than we mess
I can
something
do
up.
that.
Okay.
I can do that.
Well, we'll get together. Is a morning time okay for you? I'll have to find out what's best for Eric and then we'll go from there. Okay.
And Eric's schedule, it's literally day by day. We have no idea, what he's walking into, but my schedule's flexible. So whatever works best for him, he's gonna be the most difficult one to pin down.
Okay, I'll get in touch with them and see if we can get it ballparked.
That sounds
Thanks a lot,
good.
Joanne.
Thanks, Joanne.
Joanne,
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
Jerry.
Can you pop the rock out of that door, Joanne?
Yes.
Does this mean that then we need to meet
I'll
between
shut
16th
this,
and the
keep any
22nd?
heat in, that's it.
That works.
Right, because you gotta have those numbers before we can vote on anything to take to the board, right? So
Yeah.
we need to schedule our meeting between the 16th and the 22nd, if I'm understanding that
Yes, I
correct.
believe him, probably sooner. I mean, closer to the
The
16th.
16th, but before the
Yeah.
22nd.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood, that's how I understood it.
And then that's gotta be advertised too.
Yeah, we'll have to get with Joanne. It has to be at least 48 hours.
So do we want to pick that date now,
Yeah,
since that's
let's
like
do it.
fresh with everybody?
Yeah.
The 16th is a Tuesday. I don't know if you want to do it the day that she gets the numbers, Jerry, but that would be a Tuesday, which is what we normally have our meetings on.
That Board of Works was on the 16th, so I'm guessing she
Oh,
probably, it won't get
okay.
finalized until the 17th, She probably had a minimum want to be the 17th.
Well, if we give, how about Friday the 19th? Is that a game or something? Would we be messing with that? So it could be Thursday the 18th rather, I don't want to mess with anybody's leisure.
18th
Our
would work
family
better
will
for me.
have Santa Claus on the 19th.
Okay, well, not, how about Thursday, December 18th?
Thursday, the 18th would work for me. I
Okay
don't know
for
about
you?
anybody
Me too.
else.
That works.
Okay, so 6 o'clock?
I have a final, but I could probably make it work.
Are you sure?
Is it in the evening?
It's in the evening-ish, late afternoon.
Is this one of those things, Justin, that we're allowed to like FaceTime him in?
We would already have a quorum, so it doesn't
Oh, okay.
necessarily need to-
Okay. Do we want to do like a normal 6 o'clock meeting?
That's
Like we
That
always-
sounds fine.
I mean, I could probably make that. Anything else.
So I guess, Jerry, is there anything tonight, since we've already discussed equipment, that we need to make any formal motions on?
Let me look. I was writing a note to me.
I didn't miss any motions, did I?
No
No.
motions.
No.
No, because we can make these motions at the time and they'll be more accurate. So
Okay.
let's hold on.
Okay, awesome.
That's not what-
I did get the park board minutes uploaded to the OneDrive, so we can make a motion on November
That's not a problem.
meeting.
I didn't know if you did or not, so I got them on.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for November as read?
Motion
Casey
to approve
motions,
the minutes.
Ellen seconds, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Speaking of the OneDrive, while I got that up here, I went ahead just actually this evening and was gonna put your email, Jerry, as the recovery email. And then when I did that, it sent you a verification code. So now it's gonna be, I'm sure, too long, and I'll have to like re-verify it. I tried looking at the two-step authentication, and that wasn't part of it. So I think it's just when you log in from a new IP address or something, that's when it's asking for that verification. So I have like everything turned off that I possibly can turn off, but you guys can also mess with this more and figure out ways to hopefully make it more.
So that everyone can access it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll resend you a recovery email whenever you're near your computer and can look that up, and I'll just send you a message or call you, and then you
Okay,
can verify that, and it'll be switched over to you.
all right.
Okay. Welcome our other guests. You guys want to give your presentation?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Charlie and I've got my associate Sophie here. I have some documents for you. We are here with Racket Set Go. We are a small local business that we operate inside of Lafayette. And we are just hoping to help partner also with you guys in Attica. Let's see here, let me grab one more copy for you. It's for you. Thank you so much. So, Rocket Set Go, what we do is we bring tennis to the community. We have three main goals is we want to make tennis accessible, affordable, and fun. Our founder, Kevin V, he has lived in Lafayette almost his whole life, and he grew up playing tennis. And he went to one of the high schools, he coached there, and he just spent all his days in the park doing pickup games with people playing tennis, trying to play tennis as much as possible. And luckily he's able to do that full time now, doing lessons and clinics and classes for really people of all ages. A lot of our clinics and things are kind of more centered around more youth ages, but we do offer clinics for all ages. So what me and Sophia do, we do like one-on-one lessons. We do lessons and hitting sessions, more on like a one-to-one basis. We're doing a lot right now since Kevin is currently out of the country, but he'll be back very soon. Yeah, so anything you would like to add? Anything?
So I've been living in Lafayette just for only about a year, but personally, like my experience with Rockets, I go both working and then formally being a client. Like tennis is both a social sport, but it's also an individual sport. So when I'm working with kids, they're able to like build confidence individually, like in their own skill and development. But then like the social aspect, especially for the adults too, like it really allows the community to grow together and like you meet a lot of people. I've met so many people through Rockets I go, and I think it's been a positive influence for Lafayette. He used to do, over the summer, he would do cardio tennis boot camps, and you would just see like adults from like all backgrounds, ages out there meeting each other for the first time, having fun. So I think it's been really good for the West Lafayette community. And back to like the mission statements and making it affordable, accessible, and fun. I think that affordable aspect is a really big piece because tennis is like an expensive sport to get into. So allowing these kids and adults to experience something that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have been able to also is really good for the city.
So you're partnering with West Lafayette Parks?
Just for the court reservations.
Yeah, there's really not a lot that we even really necessarily need, like budgeting wise or anything like that. Like really what we do is we're technically a remote company, so we don't even have our own facilities really, but like the things we do with our lessons and things, we really just like, luckily Lafayette has a lot of public open courts that we're able to go to and have our lessons and things like that. Certain days, like what we do for our social league, we need more courts, so we're able to reserve the courts
Through
just
Parks and Recs.
through the Parks and Recs. That way we're able to kind of hold that space and do our thing there. And currently right now, which is nice for the winter, because we don't really have very many indoor courts in Lafayette. There's like a facility on Purdue, but it's not like public access really. It's pretty expensive to use actually. But we were able to partner with one of our community centers, North End Community Center, use their gymnasium, and we actually have soft foam balls that you can use indoors, and we have miniature nets that we set up. So those work really well for clinics for like the younger kids, just that have access to rackets and balls and getting their hands on the rackets and playing some tennis, things like that. But we really want to stress like Sophia said, the affordability of it, because like private tennis lessons go anywhere from like $80 to $100, but even lessons with our head coach, Coach Kevin, is only $40 an hour, and then us two are even more affordable than that.
So I'm just trying to get my head kind of wrapped around what that program would look like. When you reserve courts, are you paying rent on those courts, or are you just reserving them?
I can maybe answer that.
Yeah.
So in Lafayette's case, their tennis courts weren't being used heavily. So when Kevin reached out wanting to reserve those courts, there wasn't like a money aspect involved because they wanted other people to see the courts being used and for people to know that like, hey, you can play tennis on these courts. So for them, it's just visibility that they were getting in return.
Okay, and is Lafayette or West Lafayette, you working with both of them?
Primarily Lafayette, but like maybe one-offs in West Lafayette.
Yeah.
How do you address, one of the things that came up was not limiting public access, like depending on how many spaces you'd be using or how many times a day, it might mean that folks who are used to playing on that can't. So how do you address that?
Yeah, that's fair. I think really from my experience, like the clinics take up some court space, but the clinics are usually only like once or twice a week for an hour or so. It's not like extensive, like, okay, Monday we're doing clinics from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're usually very short. And then the lessons on the one-to-one basis, we're usually only using one court at a time.
Okay. So there's still plenty of public access.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll like put signage up in advance so that people know like these 1 or 2 hours it's not going to be available.
And is it $50 for the 4 weeks or $50 per week?
For the 4 weeks.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned you'd be perhaps using some kind of sponsorship. Tell us more about that and how that, where that would be displayed. Would it be signage? What are you thinking there?
Yes. So I asked our coordinator about this when I talked to her before coming, and I believe it's like I think she said it's around $200 and it's only for for the whole year you're sponsored. And then this is from our social league, but when you get sponsored, you get your logo on the back. And then they also have banners that they put up for our clinic. So basically just getting more eyes on your business. Yeah, and then the money really goes towards more like our supplies and things like that, like getting new, pretty much just tennis balls because the tennis balls are expensive. Yeah.
So these banners, would they be up just during the clinic, or they be up all summer, or what? How long did the banners stay on walls?
During our events.
Yeah. Wouldn't be half the course, yeah.
So you have rackets for them to use, or
We
they have to
do.
have their own rackets?
Yes, so we always tell our clients, like, if you have your racket, bring it. If not, we'll provide one. So we have about maybe 20 to 30 on hand between all of us.
Yeah, and also with the white paper, the blue paper, this is a flyer that we have that is what we're doing now, but this is kind of just an example of like the kind of flyers that we hang up. Like this is specifically for our winter classes, but in the summer, there's a lot more like clinics and classes and also for like the social league. And down there on the bottom, we have our sponsors as well. So these are flyers that are hung up more than just being on the course. They're hung up a lot longer. And then that also has, the white paper does have all the contact information, and that QR code is also a link to our website. On the website, you can has all the information. You can sign up for clinics and lessons, and it has all the bios of all the coaches and all the other staff, and you can kind of read through it and search and decide which coach, if you'd like to do lessons, who you'd like to do them with, and pick out times and things like that.
Now, besides Lafayette and possibly here, where else are you partnering?
We're also doing the same thing. We're reaching out to Otterman as well, which I'm not sure if that meeting has taken place yet. I think that's happening on Thursday. Thursday. Yeah, they're definitely a very small company. It's Kevin, his wife Kim, and Sophia's been there for a year on the coaching staff. But just recently, they're kind of trying to expand a little bit. So like, I just got hired on. I hired on a media person, somebody to work more on the backside of things, and they're just trying to expand. Like they've been in Lafayette and trying to expand their business and see what other cities they could take part in as well.
And when were you guys wanting to start? Like if this goes through?
Yeah.
For winter clinics, we're currently doing a trial run
Okay.
in Lafayette
Okay.
with the indoor situation. So that's going on through the month of December. And then assuming, like it went well this week, so assuming it keeps on going well, like we're honestly operating all through the winter. Did he give you any information?
They didn't give me any information on like starting dates. I'm sure they're willing to start as soon as possible. Just not quite sure what their schedule is looking like. That would definitely be more of like a
We usually
Rosita Kevin question.
Okay.
And we usually do a demo before like we go
Okay.
all in. So for all of our programs that we started up, we'll like schedule a free demo, and then it's an opportunity for both sides of the party to see how it's gonna look like. So we could probably schedule a demo whenever and then from there get started.
Now, for the indoor stuff, would that be something that you would do here in Attica, or would our kiddos and adults have to travel to Lafayette?
I definitely think the goal is to kind of set up
Here?
Yes.
here, definitely. Yeah, we definitely want to bring tennis to the people. And I think long-term goals is also like, ideally, wouldn't it be ideal for all of us to travel 30 minutes for each of our lessons? I think the goal is to also have like a Racket Set Go team of coaches here as well to
Okay.
also be in the community.
Gotcha.
So regarding facility use, like how people behave, sometimes there can be litter and there can be even, damage. So how do you guys see to it that the facilities are taken care of?
I guess, yeah, go ahead.
So before and after our clinics, like we're always there 30 minutes early and 30 minutes after. So we're the ones like setting up, and then also we're the ones cleaning up and taking all the equipment down. So like we're kind of like always the first plan for making sure everything's taken care of. When we're working with kids specifically, like obviously we have ground rules, like don't smash your rackets against things, don't like push up against the net. But overall, we haven't really had any issues with like litter or property damage.
Yeah, I'm getting a vision at any given time, except for the clinics, there wouldn't be that many kids or adults that are being
Yes.
instructed, right?
Exactly.
So what might be typical? Would you be giving lessons like all morning, all day?
So just me personally, like our lessons are anywhere from about 30 minutes to an hour, and just my availability, I'm available 4 to 7. So usually if I have a full day, I'll be teaching from 4 to 7, just depending on how many lessons I have for the day. The social league, which is, I think 6 weeks, I think 6 weeks or 5 weeks. Those last a little bit longer just because we're doing some more match plays, and then if you do like 2 matches of tennis, it kind of takes a while. Those are usually probably about 2 hours long.
In the evening.
And
the
social
evening,
league is taking how many courts?
So at Lafayette, it's 5 total.
Yeah,
And we take up 4
Okay.
for 2 hours.
Yeah, I think that'd be important, is that you'd leave at least one court open,
Yeah.
definitely.
especially evenings, because that's when people are going to be playing.
Oh yeah.
And so when you do the social leagues, is that once a week or is that every night? Or?
It depends on the group. So like, for example, women's doubles will have one day, and then mixed doubles or / men's doubles will have another day.
It's like 2 separate leagues. So we wanted to have like a men's and a women's league. The women's is fully booked, but it wasn't quite enough for solely just a men's league. So we have a mixed league as well. So you can sign up for either one, but like the women's, if you sign up for women's, you're signing up for 5 weeks every Tuesday evening. But if you sign up for the mixed league, that's on Thursdays. That's also like 5 weeks, but they do run concurrently. So if you're signed up in both, you do both. But, yeah.
All right, and that would be, at its height, that would be 2 nights a week?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. What about alcohol and smoking? What do you do in terms of enforcing that, and smoking any number of things? What do you guys do with that kind of behavior?
Kevin's usually always in contact with Parks and Rec if he needs to like report an incident. I think, like, to be frank, there are adjacent like people on the courts. So for example, if I'm working with kids and maybe people are playing offensive music, I'll have to move away from the music. But Kevin's usually our first point of contact for talking to Parks and Rec if we need more enforcement or like alcohol, smoking, any other like offensive behavior.
And your people wouldn't be doing that?
As far as like talking to Parks and Rec.
No, I mean, your people
Oh.
wouldn't be allowed to use alcohol.
Usually not in the lesson plan, but no.
All right.
So I think for indoor, that might be something that is talked to the school about, because I think that would probably be, and correct me if I'm wrong, just about the only facility that we would have space here in town for something like that, would be the school. So that might be something that we would have to partner with the school for that.
Definitely.
And I know they have brand new tennis courts out back, so that would be nice for this type of a program. The only thing that I worry about is we have such a high population of pickleballers. Isn't that kind of compete with tennis, or no? That's 2 totally separate things.
I would say
I don't play either, so I don't know.
I would say yes and no. I think the goal for Kevin is also like, since they are similar, he wants to also offer like everything we offer for tennis, we can also offer for pickleball if there's more of a demand for that.
So he's done demos for that in the past.
Yeah. And I think really the only competition I've seen is sometimes like in Lafayette, some of the tennis courts have been converted to pickleball courts, but we still have plenty of tennis courts. There's not very many like people at tennis courts playing pickleball, only because they kind of have their own space to play it if they want.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you see it, but it's never like very often. Sometimes you get some badminton players out too. But.
Okay.
I'm curious what the situation is here, but at least in Lafayette, there's a lot of dedicated pickleball courts, so we usually don't have a conflict of interest. Are there like dedicated?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do. We
Okay.
do. I just I didn't know if there was like competition between the two.
Oh.
Like,
There's also overlap.
because we have a
Yeah.
pretty high pickleball. She is the president of the pickleball.
No.
No, I thought you were the president.
I'm treasurer.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Treasurer. We have a lot of people who play pickleball, correct?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. I just didn't know
Yeah.
how that worked hand in hand. If you go into an area that has like a higher pickleball playing population, does that affect your guys' outcome of how many people want to come out and play tennis? I'm assuming.
I think if there's dedicated courts for each, then they're usually.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Or it could be encouraged, like, hey, you like pickleball, maybe you should try tennis, because a lot of the like skills and like motor function like kind of cross between both. Where like if you were good at pickleball, like you're gonna find it easier to pick up tennis than if you didn't play. Same with like
Vice versa too.
I have a client who played a lot of ping pong, so even that is pretty translatable to being on the court as well.
They call it table
Our
tennis.
tennis courts are in terrible shape.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Our tennis courts are in terrible shape.
Oh, is that right?
I don't know if you knew that, but yeah.
I think the school ones are really
School
nice.
ones are very nice if they let you.
That's
use
why I
those.
think that like
Yeah.
going through the school, I teach here at
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
I think going through the school would probably be our best bet,
That'd be the
simply
only way.
because we have the pickleball courts that are just pickleball.
Yeah.
We have the tennis courts up here at McDonald Park, but they're in pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
But the school has
Six new courts.
six, is it six?
Six
Six new
yeah.
courts.
Oh, nice.
And they would offer an indoor facility to do your winter classes in.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I mean, we obviously aren't, I work for the school, but I'm not here, I'm part of the school. So I think that that would be the best bet, like going through them, just because we are such a small town and we are limited on space and all those things.
The facilities you would need
The
would be through
facility,
the
yeah,
school.
we would be through the school, because that's
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
where we do most of our things in a
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
town.
That's something I forgot to mention as well, that Kevin does. They do demos for like classes in school, like almost like a PE class. Like they'll come in with their mini nets and do like as part of like a demonstration for those kids as well. They bring all the rackets and everything.
Yeah, and that might be
Yeah.
something to get the kids excited. And here in town, we actually have our buildings combined, so you would be able to reach all of our K through 12
Oh,
students.
nice.
If you were to come in and do that on like a school day, you would be able to hit, your K through 5 during their specials time, and then you'd be able to hit 6 through 12 during their gym time to kind of show them what it's about. If that was something that you were interested in, or if they wanted to reach out to the school and see if that was something that they were interested in, I think that would be a great route to think about, at least for growing your business.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got contact information for you for Dr. Williams, who's the superintendent. That might help you. The other thing is, as far as I know, there are rental agreements for using facilities. So there would be, I'm not aware that they do that for free.
And one option too, like certainly you guys are more than willing to check out the state of those courts if you think that you guys can still operate in that, and then we
Oh,
can continue to have this discussion to see if, from a park board perspective, if we want to kind of work through this sort of agreement, because I think even just getting visibility to where people are using those courts again, because since we created our pickleball courts, we've kind of moved that whole crowd down to the pickleball courts. So those facilities aren't being used, but if we're getting more visibility up there, people are seeing that it's getting more energy in that park, then maybe we can dedicate funds to actually redo the tennis courts up there. So yeah, certainly feel free to check those facilities out and see if that would work, and then we can kind of, or if you decide to go the school route, because they are brand new facilities.
Yeah, great.
Take that route as
Do you have a
well.
question about the tennis courts? Is there any sort of like lighting at the courts or anything like that?
Are you talking about these up here?
Or
Yeah,
at the park or at the
there's lighting
school?
up there, yes.
That's just something we've run into, like, they fixed the issue, but at our park, there was lights, and then at some point, like, they went off, and then you can't play in the dark, especially when it gets dark so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not on all the time. You'd have to let the city know when you're gonna,
Right.
when you would need it on.
And the school definitely has lights.
Yeah.
And I think at some point,
Same.
once this would get solidified, is that we would have an idea, like you've done here. Here's the full range of how we think we're gonna end up using your facilities. And then if it changes, you say, well, we'd like to expand it, then we probably want to talk about that. It's always gonna be a balance between getting people excited about it and also giving them space to do it. Okay, but
Thank you
it's
so
really-
much for joining us and bringing this to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we really
we look
appreciate
forward to
the
hearing where it
presentation.
goes from here.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
The kids that play tennis, so it's from parents that play.
This is a little specific.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was just, I brought up things. Most people play football now. And they're really
Yeah,
into
they do,
tennis. So, and having a small town, I feel like, and I don't want to sound negative or anything, but building up those programs, I just want to make sure that their expectations are not like 40 people at once, because it is probably not going to be that.
Yeah.
We got to set the bar a little bit lower.
Other topics, 5-year plan. Right before the meeting, I sent you all the email that I had got back from Greg Belfast, was with the DNR, and that was like his edits that needed to happen to move forward with our 5-year plan. I also sent an email from Matt Hanna, who gave us some recommendations from, he works up at Angola Parks, and he's worked through 5-year plans for them. So he had a separate email with some edits and stuff that he thought that would work well for our plan. So those are kind of, that's what needs to happen, or is those, I guess, mainly from Greg. That's the checklist that we need to work through to get approval for that. Again, we can essentially operate right now with the 5-year plan we currently have. That was last sent to Greg. It's pretty well versed and stuff. The only issue is we just can't submit for the DNR funding through that because we haven't gotten their approval. So if we don't decide to go that route, I would still highly recommend that we kind of work through the plan we've already had, because we had so much community feedback and we kind of have these trajectories complete. But it would be nice to finish the process, get open for that funding, because then I think that allows both us and it allows like the Attica Rec maybe opportunities at larger sums of money to kind of work through some of those facility upgrades that we'd like to make.
So is the 5-year plan, has that been sent to us? Because I was trying to find it.
That
I have a draft, but I didn't know if that was the last.
That was the
draft.
last one. Yeah, the parentheses that said draft should have been the last one. So,
Okay.
and like I said, I didn't. I maybe had started some of those edits from Greg, but I think I asked for clarification from him, and then he did. What did he say in that email? Because I was going to send you all the other email, but then it didn't include that Word document that he had sent me. But he essentially said that, probably not going to load now. I'll just forward that to you all. I think it was essentially that even if we get funded or if we get approved within our 5-year plan, so technically we could wait until 2030, right? Because our 5-year plan was from 2025 to 2030. We could even get approved in 2029 and be open up for that grant opportunity. And it would still be technically within that 5-year plan. So like we didn't have that real hard deadline that all of a sudden all our information would be out of date. I think it's
okay.
basically what
So
it
they're okay with the
said.
5-year lapse.
Yeah.
But
So
ideally, we'd do something with it this year, maybe.
yeah. I think that that would keep the information as relevant as possible within it, and also So it was, some of his stuff was kind of extensive, but I think it's manageable to do those edits if everybody's able to chip in and work through those. There was nothing like too absurd with it, but there was just some clarification on some things, some additions that need to be made on others.
So does everybody have a copy of the 5-year plan? Yes?
I do, yeah.
Should be on the Google Drive too. I think there's a whole folder on that.
And then everybody would have had those emails. So conceivably, we might just volunteer to take portions and then write a portion.
Okay, right now there's 1, 2.
Okay, I think it's really, that was so much good work. And then the other one, the one that was the assessment of How would you say we would best use that assessment to kind of leverage up grants?
Assessment.
The assessment of Armswood, and was it
Oh,
Ravine Park too?
It was Ravine Park and Arms Woods. I think that information could, for anything that you're looking at for like any nature related things. So, I mean, even there's grant opportunities out there for like carbon sequestration and solar, any green energy things that maybe we want to include on future facilities. Like I think using that grant to say, hey, we've got these sort of cool highlights within these plant communities, these insects that are already using the space, like just basically leveraging that in any somewhat applicable way, I think would be best. I mean, a lot of the ones that Johnny sent along, I think could also apply, but just saying that we've already spent money to get this assessment. And
So
then,
do you still have copies of those two that he brought?
I probably do somewhere, but I think just Google searching the Indiana DNR forestry, I think is what he had done. Grants. I'm sure Johnny could send those along too. I don't know how. Again, from like a time or from a priority perspective, the reason that I went for that grant was because I knew that money would like basically be there. But I don't know how much I would pursue too much more conservation related things based upon what the community members want. Like I think there's ways to leverage it for facilities and other things, but I think that if we do, and this is breaking my heart saying this because that's my whole love is this sort of thing, but like I just don't think other people are as passionate about it. They want to see better facilities. They want to see us work through the pool. They want to trails, I think, which you could make the argument for trails through that sort of assessment, but I don't know how much I would go that route of like conservation.
So when you were thinking about submitting this to DNR, what was your thinking? Why did you see that was the way you wanted to go?
For Johnny?
No, back
For-
when you said we've got to do all these edits because.
Oh, so that's their land and water funds, which can be used for the pool. That's like their land. It's land and water grant or something, and then at a minimum, I think it's like $650,000 or something that you have to apply for, upwards of $2 million. But that's like one of the very few grant opportunities that offer like facilities for parks. It's through the DNR and through the state, but it's really mainly meant more for like parks. It's not anything like conservation related.
Okay. So that could go a long way toward Ravine, the river, Labachi.
Yeah, I would, yeah, if you do a splash pad, or I would leverage it towards doing some sort of water feature would be my intention. Just because, again, there's not many grant opportunities like that out there. And that's one that is out there that you have to get the 5-year plan to then apply for that sort of funding. That would be my thought, would be, again, that aquatic feature, because that was what people were wanting within the 5-year plan. And then, and this is where you can loop in Denise now, or Attica Rec in general, since they're not a municipality, they're able to apply for funds through, for example, like North Central Health Services, where municipalities can't apply. And then you say, okay, well, the Attica Parks and Rec, they've been approved this $650,000 and you can use that as like a matching fund. How much would you be willing to chip in for North Central Health Services? Boom, there's your $2 million for pool.
Would that have to be part of the application? You wouldn't get that money and say, okay, well, now we'll do it this way and that way.
I don't know what sort of matching for North Central Health Services. I think at a minimum it's like a 10%, some sort of matching funds, but I don't know how much the DNR is that we would have to pitch in or have raised already. But I think that's when, okay, we have this opportunity. That's when you get your community engagement with like your small donations. Like, hey guys, we just need to raise $20,000 to be able to then apply for this funding grant, compared to trying to raise $2 million just from community feedback. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm sure we will be consulting.
Yeah, and I'm not any expert on it either, but I'm more than willing to help.
Okay, if I may take 3 more minutes just to suggest something for you to kind of be thinking about prior to next year. And that has to do with officers. And in times past, we have kind of like titles for the officers and so on. And it's my understanding from the mayor that he appoints the president, which I didn't realize. And also he appoints all the members. But I don't have anything I'm aware of that says we can't elect all of the different members of the group, right? That we as body can elect the members. And I want you to kind of think about maybe these different positions as chairpersons, that every position would be a chairperson, in which there's kind of a specialty area. And then you begin to think, how can I envision something? And then I'm presenting that to the board to see what the board thinks. And because remember, it's the board, it's not any one person. But the board would say, yeah, that's a great idea, Levi, let's go with that. And then someone might volunteer and help out, or you might start saying, how could we get volunteers and so on. So these were the groups I thought of. So the first would be vice president, and the vice president role would be to sit in for the president if he's not there, she's up there. And then other things that person would do is see to the adherence to the 5-year plan and helping the board to see the community priorities and how these might be implemented. So in other words, there's one person that's kind of shepherding the 5-year plan, is keeping that in their mind all the time and saying, how are we feeding that? And who in the community might be interested in coming on board with that, or that we're coming on board with what they're doing, and giving them the idea, this is what people said they wanted, and here's how we want to think about this. Would you be interested in this, that, or the other? Okay, next would be secretary, who's primarily minutes, but I hadn't thought what else would go with that. So there could be certainly more, but that's minutes is really, really important. Public communication, social media chairperson, and they're the ones that are arranging public contact. How do we publicize? So that's not a big change. Programming chairperson, arranging the musical arts and investigating other opportunities here and nearby. So that could include that the person might begin to be thinking about, well, what if we take the park board kids or the park program kids to that big swimming pool at Columbia Park, or different things like that, where you're thinking about services. This would also probably be the person that goes to the YMCA meetings and says, here, we're certainly interested and want to support that. Fundraising and collaborative chairperson. This is a person that's largely hunting out grants and thinking about grants and thinking how that fits with what we're trying to do. Or here's a grant that maybe we want to do because we'll kind of go in that direction I haven't thought we would. And of course, that grant writer is not just the grant writer. They are looking at how other people in the community might want to help too, and so on. And then any of us might be helping with writing a grant. It wouldn't be just that person is it, but that person has it as their principal responsibility. Okay. And then recruitment chairperson. This would be the person who would be thinking about how do we get people involved? How do we get volunteers? How do we get things so that people are decently supervised when they're doing it? It would be their thing. That's how they're thinking about that all the time. One of the things I'm aware of is that all of the high school kids beginning with this freshman year have to have 75 years of volunteer hours in order to graduate. So just that alone, for example, a person would be thinking, how do we mine that so that we have kids in doing work on park stuff? So that's what I'm thinking, is that each one of us then has a functional responsibility that they're sort of spearheading and taking principal, they're thinking about that between sessions and different things like that. And then, of course, they say to the board, here's what I've been thinking, what do you think? And then we go from there. So that becomes kind of idea creators. Yeah. So if you'd like to think about that, if that sounds good to you, then we would probably have to have a motion to change it to those kinds of positions. In the meantime, you kind of think what you want to do. If you want me to send you a copy of those descriptions, I can go ahead and do that. So, you just got introduced to it, but now you can think about it. Plus, you might say, I kind of think this or that could go under that too. We ought to expand that job description to include this or that. All right, so feel free to make changes to the document.
I really think that one of the things I'd like to add to the park board is I'd like to add that we need to be present at more things that are going on in our community, especially for us. Like, I was just disappointed that people didn't show up for the opening of the pickleball courts. I mean, that disappointed me that the park board was not there. I thought that was important because that was a big thing.
Well, your point's taken. It's kind of like where
But-
principals are expected to be.
Right,
that
yeah.
type of thing.
Mhm. And I think that we need to be there for our music, our twilight music. That's important that the park board members be there, or a good excuse not to be there, because you're representing, your park board is being represented there. I mean, so I think it's important that we, try to be there for those things, be present, show that we're a part of a park board and we care about it.
We elect the president internally, right?
No, the president's
No.
appointed, but all the others I
Council,
re-elect
mayor.
internally.
The mayor.
That's not how it has been,
Yeah,
but that's probably what's wrote in the bylaws,
Yeah.
would be my guess.
yeah.
If
Yeah,
that's the
because
way it is.
I asked them about that. I said, don't we elect the president? No, that's what the mayor appoints.
Because I thought that's what we did with you.
That's- yeah.
I thought we elected you.
I thought we voted on two.
Yeah, I thought we elected him
That's
too.
They might have checked. I think I've read the state statute before.
Hmm.
I'm
Well-
pretty sure we do. I don't know though. But
Well, if you
I'm no lawyer.
if you see it, I mean, the mayor, I'm sure needs to be informed.
Mhm.
Did Mayor Grant, did you talk to him about appointing a replacement for me? I mentioned you on that email.
Yeah, and he has.
Okay.
He's appointed me as a replacement. And that's when I brought up to him, oh, isn't that supposed to be elected from the board? He said, no, I'm supposed to appoint it.
Well, I mean a whole nother person, because we're gonna be down one person. right?
Tony Crane.
Yeah,
Tony
okay.
Crane.
I was verifying that. 'cause-
Yeah, so he appointed Tony Crane also.
Okay.
Tony accepted.
Cool.
So will Tony be starting in January?
Yeah.
Right? Is that okay? And now these positions, Jerry, do we have to get those approved by the mayor as well, or does that really matter?
I don't know what the statute says. I did happen to see a statute that says about half of the parks in our town are not listed as parks under our authority. So it's just never been upgraded. So there are things we probably should look at the statute. And Eli, if you're sharp at that,
I can do that.
that'd be great. So we can take a look and see anything that pertains.
Anything else?
I had somebody come to me and ask, I thought they would be at tonight's meeting. And we went sledding, actually, as luck would have it, this last Sunday at the park, at Ravine Park, where the hill is, where the pool is and stuff. And now that the pickleball courts are there, and then like where people park their vehicles and how the pool kind of like lines up with everything, there's not like a whole lot of sledding area left. Like there's just one like smaller area. It was asked if they did the work, if they could clear out, and they sent me a picture on the other side, like clear across the park, and then on the other side of the playground and on the other side of like the drive, if they cleared out an area, if that would be possible for them to do sledding there.
Like from coming off of the trails.
Yes.
Mm.
I said, I don't know. That would have to be something that is talked about. Of course, I'm not going to
There's
do
not gonna
it.
be any hill left up by that reservoir anymore.
Not really.
I hate that.
Yeah, it really wasn't that
That's-
much left.
You mean,
And
like,
we
with
were
the new playground, with the little playground.
on the other side, because where the pickleball courts are, like my girls kept running into the building. They hit the building several times, and I was like, ooh, maybe we like try to scoot over a little bit. Sorry, I'm trying to find the pictures now of where so they're talking about on the other side of like, here's where the new equipment is and like the tennis stuff, going that direction. So it would be like clearing out on that side. So it'd be on a totally different side of the park. And
Like you would be coming off the hill, going across the drive.
yeah,
Let me see.
because that would give you more open area
But like up from the hill.
up from the hill.
Okay.
Like the hill would be higher. You'd have more like space to go down. And I will say that when we were sledding on Sunday, there were several families that came out. 'Cause this is the first snow. So everyone was really excited. So I just thought I would ask. I don't even know if that's something that's doable because of the trail. I don't know. I've not been up in that area.
So
I don't
they
know if
talking
that's-
like cutting down trees and.
You have to make
I think you'd have to. I think
Yeah.
you'd have to cut down trees.
Okay.
I don't think you'd have a choice.
I would lean towards no. There's some cool stuff up there.
Yeah.
Just for the faint possibility of
Well,
snow in a given year. when-
And I would worry like people would take advantage of that with golf carts and.
Yeah,
RTs.
somebody's already cut in a trail right there
Yeah.
anyways, and I
Mhm.
tried at one point when we were doing some of that work on the property, I cut a couple trees across that undesignated trails and they went and cut them up, so. At some point I was gonna put a no vehicles beyond this point sign and never got around to printing one. But yeah, I would lean towards no, and there's probably some liability stuff there maybe too, if kids getting hurt.
Okay.
But
I'll relay the message.
Did anybody say anything to the Main Street about the park downtown?
I did, and they nixed it.
Really? Okay, I talked
Man,
to
that
Barb
was
Foster
quick.
today and she was real for it.
Yeah, Cindy told me a couple days ago that they felt it was not upscale enough
Okay.
and that they couldn't be sure it'd be kept up.
Upscale. This is Attica.
Okay. Used equipment.
So I wasn't pleased and I didn't feel like I had anything I could say about it. Unless we were gonna go and do it ourselves and then make enemies of the
Yeah, I
Main
think we
Street.
should do that.
Nah, not
They help us out
not
so much.
safe,
We should do
yeah.
that.
Because that's their baby, that whole section, they wanna be happy.
Yeah.
So
and they help with a lot.
I did offer them pictures and estimates of what a new one would cost to put back there, but they didn't go for that either.
Okay.
I also sent emails from her name's Robin, and she was with the Eagle Scout that had came
Oh,
last
yeah.
year at some point.
Yeah.
So there's some follow up questions that he had for that project to continue to through fruition. So
So he's putting a sign somewhere. Where's the sign going?
I think when we talked, it was like basically right as soon as you come in, it would just be a big like "Welcome to Ravine Park" or "Ravine Park" sign of some sort. That way people know, because there's their little historical marker there, but there's nothing I think that says Ravine Park.
Okay.
And
If that's coming from the highway
no, this
in the
is
back door?
turning in to the parking lot at Ravine Park, like right on that corner from the road that curves.
Yeah.
Just somewhere right in that little corner that would say.
It'd be kind of hard not to know that that's not a park at that point. Was he gonna put it so it catch people's attention?
Yeah, I think essentially.
I could see that for the back door, because people don't know Ravine Park is there if they're not a part of this town.
Mhm.
So a sign there,
Yeah, I think just in terms of like sprucing up the front area of just like saying,
Welcome.
yeah. But he's just working now through this project. So there could be that was the one that like he kind of latched onto out of all the ideas that we threw his way that one day. So it hasn't gotten approved through the Eagle Scouts yet. So that's some of the questions he was asking on that email. And I CC'd you all in it and said that I was hopping off. So if somebody could.
well, when I
Work
see
with them.
Eric on Friday, I could ask him some of the questions about permits or things like
Okay.
that, see if Eric knows.
Yeah.
Because we've got, zoning, and we've got this and that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that there would be much in the way of any permits for that, but
You would not think so, yeah.
I don't
Do
know.
you still
what-
have some signs to be put up?
Those are also with Eric. I need to just get Eric a map of like, this is where the sign
Okay.
goes, this is where the sign goes. But they have all the materials down there at the city garage. So, and I too, if it gets to a point, and I still have the files of like, because I didn't really have any idea of where they I mean, there were some that were more designated that would probably make sense in a certain area. But they could also just go kind of anywhere, because some of them are really broad, but, yeah, I was gonna try getting the map up for Eric to do that at some point here this winter.
And then real quick, I know we've gone over, since Joanne has said that that bridge donation fund does not need to be appropriated, what are your guys' thoughts on getting one more bridge done this year or waiting until we figure out the funds if we want to take back the one bridge that we already did? Because right now there's like 10,250 in it.
Would he want you to put it in this weather?
He said he's willing to, well, if he's able to dig and
Yeah.
right now not in
That's the
this
same thing, I
weather.
wonder with the play sets, whether we're not past,
Right.
whether they can be installed anymore.
Or like the start of spring, one more being done.
Okay, so I'm trying to think what she said, and that was that the donations does not have to be appropriated.
No, so we
and
can
it's
use
not
them.
a part of our budget,
No.
so that means at any time we could do it, and we wouldn't need anybody's permission. Is that,
But was that money put there specifically for bridges?
Yes.
Like, so if we
Yes.
pay, if we use that money for something else, would that
No,
make a
no,
donor?
we'd have to
angry?
do
We
bridges.
can.
Yeah, we'd have to do bridges with it. Okay.
Yeah.
But there could be repair that needs to be done at this point with some of the bridges in Ravine.
Yeah.
So but it sounds like to get those two other bridges, we're already go over the amount that's left.
Yeah, we would be, if we did two bridges, the total would be 13,000.
Were those updated quotes that would,
That was with the updated quote.
Okay.
The wider bridges.
wider bridges?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, my thought is just getting at least the second bridge that you enter in. It's just like it wobbles when you walk on it. So that's just my concern.
There's liability there.
Yeah.
The
But-
first one that comes in is not, I mean, needs redone, but it doesn't like wobble.
As bad.
Mhm.
I mean, if
Yeah.
he's willing to put it in,
Mhm.
I don't see if the funds are there, why we wouldn't.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that might require a motion, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I motion to do the bridge if he's able to do it. The sooner the better.
A second.
That's probably
All
not
in favor?
formally.
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries.
That was
So-
super professional if you could type it out
Yeah.
just the way I said that.
So Casey's motion is actually to start and finish another bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that bridge being the,
The second.
Yeah,
I would
the-
like it to be the second one
Yeah.
because that one makes me the most nervous.
yeah, that
Yeah,
one I think
makes
is a
sense.
bigger
Yeah.
liability.
You spend a lot of time on those trails, so we'll trust you.
Did you talk to him about widening the,
Yes. And he said,
Entrances,
yes,
okay.
and he
so
can.
that was added, okay.
Yeah.
Well, been a busy night.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Are you gonna be able to attend that?
Yeah, I should be able to, so I'll be at the next one.
Well, we're just milking you.
We're taking you for all you
This and meeting a week for the rest of December. Oh, thank you all. Who wants all these? This is my present.
That feels like a Jerry job.
Yeah.
He is the new president, so.
Unless we find a different regulation.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
There
I
is some-
motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have to make a motion for that?
Yeah.
I motion to adjourn.
Motions. All right,
I'll second.
Eli seconds.
Got your name in there, Mike.
There you go.
7:25.
7:25.
Somebody will also have